I'm just going to keep these videos rolling. Every single time I get an idea in my head, I'm going to make a quick video explaining how certain things work. I hope you can actually see me right now. You should be able to. I hope. Let me check. Alright, cool. You can actually see me. Ignore the ashy knee. It's freezing out. So, I'm going to explain what type of oil should you actually be running in your car. Now, here's the thing. A lot of the very hardcore, finicky people that like to really go by the manufacturer's recommendations and just listen to the manufacturer, you should use it as more or less as a guideline, because the circumstance is going to kind of vary depending on what kind of situation you have. So I'm going to kind of go over, I have 3 cars actually, I have 4 cars on me right now, and I'll kind of go over what I would run in them for oil. And I run different oil in the different cars, so because every single car is different and I don't run the same exact oil on every single one. So, general idea, what kind of oil should you actually run in your car? What does your general manufacturer say? Like, if you drive, so one of my cars is a 2022 Ford Ranger. I believe it's 530. I believe it takes 5W30. 5W30, it's more of a conventional oil. You don't really see a whole lot of 530 anymore for newer cars. A lot of the turbocharged stuff and a lot of the way that the modern engines are designed is they have a lot tighter clearances. Depending on cold weather climates, stuff like that, you'd see a lot thinner of a viscosity, so it can get the lubrication faster to certain points of the engine. A lot of it has to do with the manufacturer saving money, and how they stretch out their oil technology, and they kind of, it's not exact, like, is it cutting corners? I'm going to be honest, if the manufacturer wouldn't be doing it unless they were trying to save a little bit of money. So that's 100% a reason why, saving money. A lot of it is because a lot of cars have to hit a certain specifications for, fuel regulation, emission regulation stuff. So thinner oils, they say will increase fuel economy. It depends on the type of car. Maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. Thinner oil could make a little bit more horsepower and a little bit more less engine resistance, I guess you could say, which that'll increase fuel economy. It depends. It depends on a lot of different variables. It really just depends on the car. So I'm going to kind of walk you through each one of my cars, and I even have a lawnmower over there that I'll explain to you. I have some oil laying around over here. This is gear oil. All right, 5W30 synthetic blend. This is Motorcraft. Motorcraft is usually used by most Fords. And the reason why is because it might be a partnership thing. It might be something specific that the oil additives that are in here have to do with Ford specific engines. It could be a gimmick. I don't know. I don't really know the science. Well, I do know the science behind it, but who knows if certain data is true. You could easily run a different 530 synthetic or a 530 in general, and you might get the same results. I mean, do you buy 6 quarts of 530 conventional oil and run it inside your vehicle and you change it every 3,000 miles? Or do you get the more expensive 530 oil and do you change it in your car every 6,000 miles? And it costs the same in the long run. Like, which one will make your engine run faster or last longer, and which one's better? It really depends. Personally, to me, I think that changing your oil more often will often protect your engine better than if you go longer range with more expensive oil. I think always having clean oil and changing your oil every single time I come back from the racetrack, even though my engine oil will look clean, I'll change it, because what actually happens is when you run your engine oil really hot, especially in like race car purposes, I'm going to be talking about both like kind of performance and regular day-to-day driving stuff with oil. When your engine oil gets really hot, it might not look black and dirty and disgusting, probably because you actually haven't used like a lot of the oil hasn't picked up a lot of the contaminants from the engine, especially if you have a clean engine. and it won't pick up things like carbon buildup or fuel or things like that that will make it more discolored. But what it does do is it will break down the additives that are inside the oil faster. Like a lot of oils have zinc in them. A lot of those minerals will start to break down and degrade, within a certain temperature range. Like a lot of oils have temperature ranges for different circumstances. Like there's high performance oils for high performance drivings for engines that are going to be constantly running hotter, different heat ranges, stuff like that, thicknesses, viscosities. On a race car specifically, since oils get hot, like your manufacturer might say that your engine takes 0-20. But at that point, you're going to be running the car high performance, and say, the manufacturer isn't really thinking that you're going to be driving the car super fast on a racetrack. So you can probably run 530, or in some cases 1040. Like, it depends how old the engine is, what kind of engine is it? Is it turbocharged? Is it not turbocharged? Is it finicky? What kind of brand of car? Things like that. So Motorcraft is usually for Ford. I don't run all. I think this is a 5-quart. It is a 5-quart bottle. I believe it goes up to 4 and then it stops, but it goes higher. So I believe this is a 5-quart bottle. My Ford Ranger takes like 6 to 6.5 quarts of oil. And this is 5. I usually just dump this in. It's not the most expensive. It's a little bit on the more expensive side because it's just genuine oil. If you buy genuine oil, chances are it's going to be more expensive than just going to get like a Valvoline or a Pennzoil or something else. But if your vehicle is brand new, I do recommend that you use the manufacturer's stuff. Once it starts to get into the higher mileage and you're just trying to save a little bit of money and you're a little bit more mindful about it, doing more frequent oil changes and using different oil is fine. So this is 5W30. Alrighty. Now, don't quote me on this because it's been so long, because I haven't really talked about oil specifications in a while. Actually, you can quote me. It's not that I don't know. Hang on, Mr. Recording. I am. Okay. Oh, geez. All right, it's not that I don't know. I do know. It's just been a while. So this is gear oil, but the principle is still the same. 75W90, full synthetic gear oil. You can actually use this as motor oil. You shouldn't. It's really thick, and it's not going to be really good for cold weather. And the reason why is because you can say that the W means winter, and 75 is your cold. I would say that it is not the hot temperature of the oil. That would be the last number. 75 stands for how fast, essentially, can your oil get to lubricate your engine at a certain temperature. So if you see something like 5W30, 5 winter 30, you can say in your head. 5 is, I believe it's negative 5 degrees below zero, or negative 5 degrees Celsius. Which that is like 20 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 degrees Fahrenheit, negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit. So if you have something that is 0W30 or 5W30, the 0W30 will lubricate your engine parts faster than than the thicker oil, which would be the 5W30. That is just for initial cold starts. It does not have anything to do with the engine oil when it is fully hot. That would be the second number, which would be 30. In this case, 75, it's a thick oil, so it's going to take a long time for it to actually reach your engine to start to lubricate it. This 5W30, so 5 degrees minus 0, so negative 5 degrees, so 20 is that 22 degrees Celsius? Negative 22 degrees Celsius. Is it 5 degrees above 0? I'm not sure. It could be one or the other, but general rule of thumb is 5 winter. 5 is your cold temperature starting. So if it's 10, if it's 0W, 5W, 10W, 10W means it's going to take a little bit longer to get your engine lubricated during colder weather processes. The lower number means that in colder weather, means it'll get there faster. The bigger the first number, means that it will get there slower. 30, that is 30 weight oil, which means that this is its viscosity at hot temperatures. So this 30. All right, I just had to refresh myself really quick because it's been a little while. But the 30 means that is your operating temperature viscosity. 30 is, I believe it's 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's like 100 and something, 111, 112 degrees Celsius. So the bigger that number is, the higher the heat range it takes at normal operating temperature. So if you're running a 5W20, the oil will get there and it will be lubricated at the same rate, but the operating range of heat with the lower viscosity oil will be lower if it's 5W20. If it's 5W30, it will have a little bit of higher heat range at a running engine warm operating temperature. A lot of things like Volkswagens like to run like a 1040. Diesels like to run kind of similar to these numbers, maybe not as thick. It depends on what kind of diesel, if it's a massive truck or if it's just like your turbo diesel, Power Stroke, Cummins, stuff like that. What else do I have here? A lot of oils have viscosity. That's kind of the only jugs I have right here. But yeah, so typically the thicker the number, so here's general rule of thumb. Bigger numbers mean higher viscosity, thicker oils. Lower numbers mean thinner oils. General rule of thumb. The first means colder weather. The smaller the number, that means it lubricates your engine on initial startup faster with this lower number. With the higher number, it means it lubricates your engine during cold weather climates a little slower. The second number is your oil viscosity at operating temperature, or your heat range. So a 30 is like 200 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas 40 might be 250 degrees Fahrenheit, I think, something around there. And if you're running like a 0W8 oil, it does have depending on what type of engine, like a lot of Toyota engines run 016, 08, it has a very low heat range. So be mindful of that depending on what you have. I'm going to go over some cars that I have and explain to you what oil I run in them and what you should run in your car. All right. So we were just here, if you saw my last video. This is my 1995 Toyota Celica GT. It no longer has the original engine, but it does take the same oil viscosity. On the oil cap itself, it says 5W30. This engine likes to take 5W30. Now, because this engine likes to run a little hot because I take it on the track, I do still run 530. It does not burn any oil at all. I do use a high mileage oil though. So high mileage oils usually have more additives in it to protect your engine a little bit better. And the reason why is because high mileage engines usually have more clearances between certain parts. High mileage oils might have more detergents in them to clean things like carbon deposits, stuff like that, different levels of zinc. It depends what oil you're using. I usually run the Valvoline high mileage 530. It takes about 4.5 to 5 quarts even. If the engine starts to get a little tired or it starts to burn a little bit of oil, which it doesn't right now at all, I'll start to run a little bit of a thicker oil with a little bit more protective additives in it. But for right now, I like to keep this engine, since it's relatively healthy, even though it is older, it's still relatively healthy. I'll run the factory spec oil, but I will run a a safer type of it based on like the additives that are in it, so like a higher mileage, just for a little bit more insurance. And it's not super expensive either, which is always a plus. When you're running your engine at high RPM all the time, it will burn a little bit of oil. It's kind of inevitable, even for a newer engine, because you're just running it so hot. The oil needs to go somewhere. Sometimes it slips past the rings, you know, stuff like that. And you can use whatever oil you want. I use just some generic conventional 530 top off oil because it's cheap. I don't ever need to ever use like I'll maybe use like not even a half a quart by the end of the day. So it's not even a lot. So that's fine for topping it off. You can mix oils. That's another thing. It's okay to mix oils. You don't want to like mix a ton of them together because I feel like that's kind of pointless. I mean, you can. You shouldn't. I don't know why you would. You can use, if your engine takes 6 quarts, I guess you can take 1 quart of 6 different brands and mix them together and see what happens. It should be fine. Maybe they'll have a chemical reaction together. I don't know, but it shouldn't. Do whatever you want. But if you're in an emergency, I guess that would make sense. But yeah, so for an engine like this, it's fine to run a normal oil, since it's relatively healthy. There's nothing wrong with it, but it is an older style engine, so I'll run the high mileage. All right, so this is my 2005 Scion TC. It has almost 200,000 miles on it, but this engine is incredibly healthy. The oil's clean. Underneath the valve cover is immaculate. There's no carbon buildup or anything at all, so I got really lucky with this car. Whoever owned it before me really did their maintenance. This thing's seen multiple track days. I've over-revved it. I've done so much with this engine, and it just takes it, and it's fine. The engine's really strong. It's really healthy. It pulls really hard. I run the same oil that it takes. I believe this takes 520. This actually takes 530. I can't feel my fingers. What is splattering over here? There's something. Is that oil? I can't tell. Is there oil splattering? Power steering? What's that? Might be power steering fluid. I'm not sure. I see a little bit of oil splattering coming from somewhere. Could be my hood vent. I don't know. Is it coolant? What is this? Looks like water. I don't know. But this also takes 530, very similar to my other engine. This engine's super healthy and super clean. I think when it gets really hot outside, I'm going to run a little bit of a thicker oil at the track with it. These two AZ engines are usually notorious for burning oil. This one doesn't at all, which I'm really shocked about. So I do run the same oil in this that I do run the Celica with, because I don't need to change it right now. But eventually, I think I will, and I think I'm going to run like a 1040 maybe. Just something a little thicker, a different heat range, or I might just get a better viscosity of 530, not a better viscosity, like a more safer option. I usually run conventional in this because oil's oil. It's not really, at an engine like this that only probably makes 145 horsepower maybe, it's not really too important. If it was like a turbocharged application, or if it was anything other than a Toyota, I'd recommend something different. But in this scenario, it's really not that bad. So yeah, I mean, 530 is okay for this. I run 530. It's usually fine. It's got a lot of high mileage, so that's why I run the high mileage oil. Just to help out, you don't need to, but same concept. All right, this is my 1995 Ford Mustang GTS. I don't think the mileage is accurate on this. I think it has less mileage than what it's reading, but I don't think that matters. It says it reads 167,000. I think it's less. I don't know how much less, but I think it's less. Doesn't matter. This is the 5 liter. These Ford engines, especially these version of the 5 liters where it's post Fox body, these aren't really the fastest 5 liters. These are more like conventional, I guess you could say Ford Explorer 5 liters. They don't make a lot of horsepower. They only make like 200 horsepower, but they're pretty dependable engines. Like, these engines are pretty much bulletproof. The only thing is, though, this engine in general, it does run and drive well now. I was able to dial it in with the timing and stuff like that. It's a dependable engine, but it is getting a little tired. It does have a little bit of valve seal leakage. Compression isn't down. It doesn't really burn oil, but you can kind of see that the engine is just starting to get a little tired. So I do run thicker oil in this. This, I believe, also calls for 530, but I do actually mix 530, and call me crazy, I do put, in some cases, like, a lot of people have like that Lucas oil thing where they don't want Lucas oil. It's like molasses. It's in a white bottle. It's like Lucas oil head gasket repair. It comes out green. It's almost like gear oil, except it's really thick. I've noticed that it does work on engines that have things like tired valve seals or stuff like that, or engines that just might have a little bit more piston ring wear than usual. A little bit of blow-by, stuff like that. The oil is naturally thicker, which means the clearances in the engine are probably going to be thicker too. So it's okay to run a little bit of a thicker oil. I'll do a majority of the oil still 530, and then I'll put some Lucas oil like stabilizer in there to help thicken it up. And it does make it run better because it's not burning a lot of oil. I mean, it doesn't burn oil really that much anyway. It is an old V8. It's a little tired, but it does run and drive fine. It's got plenty of compression. It's the engine's got enough life left in it, trust me. But it's just of that age where you start to see some signs, and it's better you might run different oil. Maybe altogether I'll just run, I'm actually going to sell this car soon. I have too many things, so unfortunately I can't keep them all. I really wish I could keep this car, but I can't. But you know, for the next owner, possibly a friend of mine, I'm going to tell him he should probably run a thicker oil, probably like a 1040 or something like that, or run like a Lucas oil stabilizer in it, just to keep the engine somewhat happy, you know, because it's a Ford. It'll be fine. All right, this is my 2022 Ford Ranger. So here's the deal. You would think because this is a newer car that it'll probably take a little bit thinner of an oil, but that's not exactly the case. It still takes 530. Now, I don't really know why. Most engines that are smaller displacement and turbocharged in the modern day era usually take things like 0-20 or 520. And in this case, it takes 530. I don't know if that's because a lot of these trucks, I had a feeling that maybe it's because a lot of these trucks are used for fleet purposes, and the 530 has some kind of, you know, because it's a more conventional style of oil, and I guess you could say it's easier accessible, and price-wise it's a little better. I don't know. Maybe that was a hunch. It's kind of surprising because all my cars actually take 530, which is kind of weird. I think the Mustang is 530. It might be thicker than that from the factory. I don't know. I'm pretty sure the Mustang is 532. I'm pretty sure. I said it was. I'm pretty sure it is. But most modern day vehicles that have smaller displacement and turbochargers are usually 0-20 or 520. Some even lower than that. And for this, it's brand new. I do run what the manufacturer recommends. After I hit maybe 100 and people are going to say, you're not going to hit that much mileage in it. Watch me. I am gonna. After I had 150,000 miles in this thing, which I will, and I'm going to hit more mileage in this thing, I'll start to run a different oil. For right now, I'm running the Motorcraft, which is, I had the jug of it in my shed over there. Who knows? Maybe I'll run that till 100, and then I'll start running a higher mileage. Right now, I'm at 60,000 miles. So I did want to make a quick review on the truck since I'm at 60,000 miles, and I want to let people know what the little quirks of the truck are after you hit about the 50,000 mile, 60,000 mile range, just in case somebody actually wants a Ford Ranger. But for right now, it takes 530, and it still runs clean. I usually change my oil every 5,000 miles, typically. I run the OEM filter type. I'm not going to cheap out on it. It's a brand new truck. You probably shouldn't cheap out on it if it's brand new. You should probably take care of it as it's intended. Once it starts to get into the higher mileage though, and it starts turning into a truck, then I'll start to probably run a more conventional oil. I'll change it more often, something like that. Once I need to, I will. For right now, it's okay. I would, okay, maybe the wind chill is starting to make me cold. It's not even making my legs cold, it's making my arms cold, and I'm wearing a sweatshirt. But yeah, 530 is fine for right now. It's new. If you're running a new vehicle, you should probably run new oil, or not new oil, the manufacturer recommended oil. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Alright, I just came inside to warm up because I'm freezing. My fingers are a little frostbit. I ran them under warm water and it made them hurt. So it was a little cold, but not to worry, I'm good now. So here's the idea. Here's actually another car. I'll give you a quick example. My girlfriend's car, she drives a 2008 Scion TC, and the engine has 187,000 miles on it, I believe. And that thing burns oil like a sieve. It probably burns about a quart every 500 miles, which is awful. People say that that's like normal within range based on the mileage of the engine. I'm surprised the engine made it that long, that nobody decided to burn all the oil out of it. What I think the problem is though, I don't think the engine is exactly tired. I think that somebody might have not have maintained it as much as they should. So I think there might be carbon buildup on the oil separation ring that is, I think that is on the bottom. I think that's below the compression rings on that piston, I believe. It's essentially a ring around the piston, and it's got like divots in it, and it helps, and it's supposed to rotate around and kind of free flow, and it's supposed to kind of like oscillate within the cylinder wall to kind of seal it from oil spillage to leak up. And I think there's carbon buildup on the piston, and it's potentially stuck and not moving. So it's having, the engine has a little bit of burning. The catalytic converter is still in the car, but it doesn't blow a whole lot of white smoke. It doesn't feel really that much down on power, but it is, the oil's going somewhere. It's not leaking. So I started to upgrade her oil within stages. She had whatever oil she had in the car when she bought it, which was the regular oil, I'm assuming. Then I put in a 1040 weight for her, and it burned less. Now, call me crazy, I'm running like gear oil in the thing, like wicked thick oil, and I'm gonna see if it burns it. I didn't put a whole lot of it in there, so it's probably gonna burn like the other oil. I did mix it with more of a conventional oil, but you know, we'll see. It probably, she does drive it a decent amount, so so we'll see. That bottom end on that engine, the engine runs and drives good. It just burns oil, and it doesn't burn oil to like that bad out the tailpipe. Like you wouldn't even be able to tell, which is strange. The catalytic converter is probably taking in a lot of it. I tell her that she probably needs to floor the thing a lot more to get those rings kind of freed up from the carbon, because I think whoever owned it before her, it was completely stock. It did have a TRD catback, but I don't think the person was like a performance person. I think that's been on there since the car in 2008. It was like a factory performance option, so somebody might have bought the car with that on it already, just like how I bought my Scion TC, which was in really good condition, that had the factory TRD lowering springs on it from the factory. So who knows? Like the idea is that, you know, hers is burning a ton of oil. It's got a lot of mileage, and I think I'm running like 75 W90 or 85 in it, which is thick. That's not engine oil, it's gear oil. But it does lubricate the engine really well. I haven't had a single problem with it. Now people are going to be like, dude, you're crazy. Well, gear oil does not have like the same amount of additives, or it might have different levels of zinc. It might not have zinc at all. It's supposed to be a really thick, viscous oil, which is really just made for things with big clearances on bigger equipment, or a rear end or a transmission in a car or a transaxle, something. But I'm running it in the engine, and so far it seems okay. And maybe you need it. Like, say you drive a Hyundai and it has, I don't know, 170,000 miles on it, and you're just blowing oil out the back. Try and just throw a super thick oil in there. You're already at your mileage mark. Yeah, you're probably going to need an engine at some point. But honestly, if you're just trying to save money and get by for now, the worst that can happen is the engine's going to die, which it already might anyway. Throw some thick oil in there and see if it works. I usually don't recommend putting thinner oil in a car. You shouldn't. Like, if your car calls for 530, you shouldn't put 020 in it. You should put 530 or more in it. Usually because your engine could be lubricated faster in colder temperature. I mean, you could run like a 030 or a 040, if that even exists. A 040 exists? I don't even think that exists. It might exist. I think 030 exists. I mean, you could run like a 030 in your car when it calls for 530. That's fine, because that's your cold engine oil lubricating number. But you shouldn't run like a thinner oil, a thinner operating temperature oil than what the engine calls for, because I think that will probably cause more premature wear in your engine. And even from the factory, your engine still has tolerances, and it's not like the tolerances get any tighter. Maybe when the engine gets hot, but all the more reason why you should just use what the manufacturer recommends for oil on initial startup. You can try it. I'd recommend you try it on something older to see what the effects are. Like, does it increase performance? Does it increase fuel economy? Does oil actually increase horsepower and increase like performance? Yes and no. It could. Oil that retains a higher temperature over a certain operating range, yeah, if your engine can keep cooler, then it's a possibility that your engine running at a better cooling temperature, a better operating temperature, will have more horsepower. It'll help things like fuel atomization and stuff like that. But there's so many variables that take into account for that. Like, if you're driving outside and it's already 30 degrees, it's like, okay, well, it's only going to help you so much. It's like, it's already, the ambient air temperature and the intake air temperature is going to be super low. So it's already compensating for that difference. Having colder engine internal oil or coolant isn't really gonna, like, yeah, your engine performs better in cooler or colder weather, because it's just how the air is more dense. If everything can maintain operating temperature for longer or run a little cooler, having a hot engine has the engine heat soak, so oils that can't retain a certain heat operating range will make your engine perform less. You should change your oil as often as possible. Now, I mean, and I'm not saying you should change it once every 1,000 miles, but service interval, like, yeah, they say 3,000 miles. You can make the number in your head. It doesn't exactly have to be 3,000 miles. You could change it once every 1,000 miles. You could change it. I mean, that's completely up to you. It's going to be expensive. A lot of it has to do with, you know, you could have oil that's pretty dark, but has not lost its lubricative properties. It just depends. A lot of the reason why the oil becomes dark is because it's carrying a lot of contaminants from the engine inside of it, like carbon or gasoline or just anything, or just any type of emissions thing. It's it being used is also using up all of its friction modifiers, so it'll change the color a little bit. So yeah, what else am I missing? You can see what works for you. General rule of thumb, I would, when you're first doing this, to see like, hey, I should run a thicker oil in my car because I hit over 150,000 miles and my car's like, I don't know, 10 plus years old or whatever. I think you should just up both numbers by 1 digit. I don't mean 1 digit like 6W11. I'm talking like 10W40. So the way oil works is it works in like increments. It doesn't work in individual digits. Like you're going to see things like 020, 520, 530, 1030, 1040. Like you're going to see numbers like that. So if you have a car that takes 530, I would do like a 1040, or I would do like a 540, or maybe do a 1040 or 540 or a 1030. It depends. It depends on where you live. If you're living in an area that's relatively warm all the time, you don't really have to worry too much about the first number. As long as it's a 5 or a 10, 90% of the time it's pretty accurate. And I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this are like already checked out by now. Yeah, I talk a lot. But yeah, general rule of thumb, that's what you need. I will post some links in the description for specifications, so you can have a better idea of what it is the fuck I'm talking about. And yeah, there you go. Have a nice day.